Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Friends in Recovery Podcast. I'm Jersey Ed, along with Noontime with Sky, and our special guest today, Tifani P. And boy, do we have a story for you about Tifani P. So stay tuned, guys. Tifani is a good friend of Friends in Recovery, and we'll tell you she'll tell you the whole story about all that. But first, Sky, how's it going? I'm glad to see you second week in a row. You're up in your little cafe in lovely downtown Camden, New Jersey, I'm guessing. Is that where you're at?
Yeah. And, if the semester ends, I guess I'm just going to have to come down to Camden just because I want to come to the cafe. So it's going to be like I'm coming here voluntarily.
There you go. Well, you know what? We're starting a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe page so that the listeners can buy the cafe for you. So that should be yours pretty soon. So yeah, go check it out on wherever you check it out on. Try to find us. You'll probably never find us. So it's not happening anyway. But it's good to be back. I'm feeling much better. I hope everybody enjoyed an honest and open show that we spoke about last week, and Sky with the heavy hitting questions, and a lot of good things going on, and a lot of good healing now. That's what recovery is able to bring me, is I'm able to relax, and like I said in the last show, is just take care of me finally, take care of me and move on so I can start taking care of others now. So I do want to talk about a couple things here, Sky. Friends in Recovery communities and Friends in Recovery adventures. Please, guys, like us on Facebook and Instagram. It's important. We want you guys to follow us and see all the good stuff we're doing, because we're also going to have a website, and you guys will be able to interact on the website. There's going to be a lot of good things on that website. That should be coming at the beginning of the year, give or take. So if you get onto our Friends in Recovery communities or Friends in Recovery adventure pages on Facebook and Instagram, like us, let us know where you're from. Give us a shout out and say hello, and let us know where you're from. Do a lot of interaction goes on there. You can find our meetings on there, our Friends in Recovery meetings. We have 2 meetings a day, 7 days a week, noontime and 7 p.m. That's Eastern time. And you do the math where you're living, and and Central. Tiffany's in Central, so she's always an hour behind. And Tiffany actually runs our Big Book study on Sunday nights, and we'll get more into that. And that's a great meeting. That's a really, really great meeting. So I know, Sky, you have some sober shout outs that you want to run out there for us.
Yes, we have 2 Genesis House alumni and Friends in Recovery. Erin R. She has 4 years today.
All right.
And another one this month is Nikki T, and she has 5 years.
Wow. Congratulations, everybody. And I believe Erin R is going to be on our show pretty soon, right? Isn't that correct?
It's up for debate. It's debatable.
That's a hard no if I know Erin.
I was trying to be optimistic,
She's probably cringing in a corner right now. So,
right.
But, and I know I don't know Erin at all, but I only know her from the Friends in Recovery, the Genesis House alumni group, and she's always on there. She's always on there, smiling and just supporting everybody. And she's been she's been an alumni for a long time, I'm guessing, right?
She's been every single alumni event since they started. The in-person one, she went to every single one, and then ever since we started the online, she's been every single one. So she's been like my biggest fan. Like
she is, she's amazing. So we thank you for your support, Erin, and congratulations on your celebration. And who was the other one? I forgot the other one was.
Nikki T.
Oh, Nikki. Oh yeah, Nikki.
She does H&I at the campus in Florida. Yeah.
All right. Congratulations to everybody. So, so your week was good, Sky. Everything was okay, and yeah. All right. Good. You look fabulous today.
Thank you.
And so our guest today is Tifani P, guys. I want to get right into the guest. This is going to be a good show because there's a lot of history behind Friends in Recovery with Tifani coming into everything here. But Tifani P was and still is a listener. And she also she wrote into us one day. I got this email out of the blue. I was asking for sober shout outs, and this lone email comes in, right? And it's like, Tiffany P, 2 years. I'm like, all right, I'll just give it a shot out there. And I probably forgot to talk about it a week or two or whatever. And then I gave a shout out. And then I got another email saying, hey, that's for real. Like, you're really doing that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what else. It's what we do here. I don't know. And then Tiffany and I became friends, and she has been a huge support of Friends in Recovery communities. She's actually helped develop some of the stuff that we're actually talking about now, and gonna take this to another level, not just with the podcast. It's going to be, another level that we're all going to. So Tiffany, welcome to the show. And this has been a long time coming to have you on the show with us.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, funny story. It was the pandemic. Okay. And I had just started to go to meetings. Okay. It took me a little while to get into the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, but the pandemic happened and everything shut down. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Right. I just started this, growing this fellowship around me, and I had to let it go basically. And I started listening to podcasts, and to be honest, I was trying to quit smoking, but I kept sneaking out to the garage to listen to the podcast versus have a cigarette. So I was out there and I was listening to the podcast, and I was looking for recovery podcasts, and I found Friends in Recovery. And it said, send in this for a sober shout out. And you guys were putting like your cell phone numbers out there. And I was like, I thought this was a really big deal. And I was like, who the heck does that? Like, they're going to really put their phone number out there? Is this for real? And so I shot off an email to Jersey Ed and said, yeah, I'm coming up on 2 years and whatever. And it was the pandemic. So you guys kind of took a break. And so that's where the break came in. And all of a sudden I was like, I kept waiting because it kept saying you were coming on in February or something. So I kept looking for new podcasts, and lo and behold, like the new podcast comes on, and here's Jersey Ed giving me a shout out. And I was like, wait a minute, like this is for real. So I sent another email, and there was like an auto response, and I was like, no way. This is it. This is fake. And so I called the phone number, and I don't know if it was you or Mike who answered, but I hung up. I hung up because I'm like, oh my gosh, like they answered on like the second ring. So yeah, real phone numbers, which was exciting to me, right? Because you kept talking about these meetings, about Friends in Recovery meetings. And I was looking for a fellowship, and I didn't want it to be this fake, like I just didn't know what to expect. And I, like many others, move at the speed of trust. And so I didn't trust anything. But since I got the email back, and it wasn't an auto response, and then I called the phone number and someone actually answered, I was like, shit, I should probably get on these meetings and check it out. Like, right. And so one day I just popped on a Friends in Recovery meeting, and the rest is history, man. It's been great because Friends in Recovery is my home group. My higher power, they say in the big book, he builds a fellowship around you. That's what it says in The Road to Happy Destiny and a Vision for You on page 164. And that really has come true. Like, I know I wouldn't be where I am today without Friends in Recovery. And the podcast and Carl, and listening to I'm not going to give them a shout out. You can give them a shout out.
I'm going to bust
sober pod
later.
Whatever the fuck that sober pod thing is.
I don't know.
Exactly. But anyway, that sober pod thing. And, so I started going to meetings, and then I started going to more meetings, and then I was going to every meeting twice a day. And it just changed my life, guys. It really changed my life. And so that's how I came to Friends in Recovery. And, I loved you guys so much that I actually flew to Florida to meet Ed at Janice's house.
Yes, she did. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really did.
Yeah, she came down to Genesis' house. She looked at her and her husband. They all, well, fiance, because this is not Tiffany's first go around on the
Yeah.
show. Just to let you guys know, Tiffany came on. She thought she was going to be a guest, and her husband was coming on too. And if you look back about 5 or 6, maybe 7 episodes, she gets engaged on our show. I forgot about that. That's right. So
that
this is
was
not
on my 2-year anniversary. Yeah.
yes,
Whatever year
2
it
or
is.
3. Was it 2 or
3,
3?
3,
Yeah,
3.
3.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, that's how I came. And then actually another vacation that we were booking, we were going to go to Vermont, and that all changed. And we found out Ed was going to be in South Carolina. And so we booked a trip to South Carolina, because we already had vacation time scheduled, and that's what recovery is about, right?
Yeah.
I met this fellowship. Well, my big Rottweiler was just about to bark and it was going to scare everybody. So anyway, hopefully the FedEx guy doesn't show up. We get a lot of deliveries right now this time of year. But anyway, went to South Carolina, and that's what recovery is about, like going and meeting all these people. And it says that, you'll meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. And, I was thinking about that phrase last night because actually I was on another meeting about trudging the road to happy destiny. And I actually looked up the word trudge, and it's like walk with laboriously and heavily. And I was like, man, isn't that true? Right? Like, that's really true. Like what we have to do to stay sober.
Oh yeah.
It's a simple program, but if you're willing to do the work and look up the phone numbers and look up the emails and wait for the shout outs, right? All your dreams can come true.
Absolutely.
So,
well, let's put up some emails for now. That phone number expired that we had, but you can email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. I usually put it up at the beginning of the show, but help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. Send us an email about Tiff, about anybody, who maybe you want to see Tiff as a co-host one day. Maybe you send an email about that. You never know, right? I mean, who knows? So stranger things could happen on this show.
I could be a permanent guest for a while.
You could be, absolutely, absolutely. But you know what, Tiff? The minute I met you, I knew you were full of energy. I knew you were that type of. You and I have the same type of personality, same as Skylar. We all run. We wanted things done yesterday, but we want them done right, and we want them done safely and soberly and all that stuff. And we just run a million miles an hour, and we want the same things that we want for everybody else is everybody be sober. Anybody comes and knocks on our door, anybody shows up to our meetings, we want them to get what we so we were freely given. We didn't have to pay for this. We didn't, nothing, zero. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears. I put a lot of hard time in all those years, but but freely given to us. And that's one thing I think all three of us definitely have in common. And that's immediately when I met you and was speaking to you on the phone. And when you came into the meetings, I'm like, man, this chick is the real deal, man. She's really about recovery. And she only has 2 years. I wish I was that passionate at 27 years, but then you ended up like she said, every meeting in the pandemic, she was there 2 times a day, kids hanging off of her, dogs barking, doorbell. I remember one time your doorbell's ringing, your son's ringing the doorbell, you're screaming at him, trying to run him. Reggie,
it's real life. That's real life, right? We have to live life on life's terms. And like right now, I've like 2 cats running around me. I don't know if you saw the Christmas tree swaying in the background. I thought it was going to fall like a second ago. It is what it is,
Hey, just let Chris know I pray for him every morning. Okay.
He prays for my man too. He does the same thing for Charles.
Yes, I do. Yes, absolutely.
A song came on when we just got back from the Grand Canyon, and a song came on, that song, Love Me the Way I Am. And I can't sing it. Well, I could, but that's for another show. But it came on, and my daughter was in the back seat, and I just was like, see, This all is just that you have to love me the way I am, and you accept me
That's
for
it.
who I am, right?
Exactly.
We all have good partners.
Exactly. I was always reading, if you're trying to change somebody, or if you're trying to make somebody different, or you want them to be somebody who they're not, that's not real love, and exactly what you said, love me the way I am. This is who I am. This is my faults. This is all my good stuff. This is all my bad stuff. This is everything here. You just got to love me for who I am. And, and that's what the program taught me. First of all, the program taught me that I have to love me first before I can even love anybody else. That's number one. And
Absolutely.
without that, I couldn't be on here talking to you, Tiff, or doing a show with you, Sky, or even helping other addicts and alcoholics get help that they need, but I know deep down inside that I got to take care of me first. And then that opens tons of doors. And then once we open tons of doors, we got friends in recovery communities going on. We got Tifani sending us emails. I mean, Tiff, would you have sent us an email if you thought this show was bullshit and everybody was like, the message wasn't good? I mean, seriously, the recovery you have, like, come on, I mean, so.
No. And that's what it was, is I listened to everybody's recovery, and it changed over the years. I listened to every single episode of the show.
Mhm.
And then when like Skylar came on, her and I've had a connection also from the beginning. They're like soul sisters. And like, we don't have to talk every day. We don't have to whatever, but we're the same. Like, we're addicts, right? We're alcoholics. And there was a connection from the beginning. And what I loved, one of the pieces that I really loved about Skylar is that she introduced me to pen friends.
Oh yeah.
At Genesis house, because I, being at home and being new, I feel like I'm still a newcomer. I didn't know different ways to do service. I thought how I knew that was a key piece to staying sober was doing service. And that helped me, man. Like, having the ability to write to somebody and in treatment who's not receiving mail. And I know what it was like to be in treatment and not receive mail. And just to express my thoughts, I send cards, I send letters, I send little trinkets and trash. I do all sorts of different happy little things. And you know what? Last week on the Alumni and Friends, at the very beginning, someone at Genesis House had received a letter from me, and they said, "Are you Tifani? The Tifani?" They called me the Tifani. And she was like, "We received your letter, man." And it was like those movies when you receive a letter at the right moment, and it saves your life. And we've been sharing it around the house.
Oh my God.
But
that's why everybody has to do it.
Yeah.
Because every single time they get a letter, it's always on time. It's always a client that needs it. And even if they get mail, it's someone that needed to hear what you wrote. I'm telling you every time.
And I needed that message from her.
That too, right?
Yeah. Well, the other thing, Tiff, too, is that, and you made a good point, service keeps us sober, service, unity service, and whatever, and when the pandemic hit, what service do? You can't pick up chair. Well, I've been around long enough picking up ashtrays, but you can't pick up chairs. You can't close the door. You can't be a greeter. You can't pick up the books. What do you do? And that's a perfect, you dove right into that and started writing everybody. And here's the other thing. Writing is so therapeutical. And I'm sure definitely benefit the client, but as you sit in there writing, telling some of your stories or whatever is going on, I bet you just let go of all kinds of shit. I mean, all kinds of shit in those fucking letters,
You know what? Someone's receiving that letter that I don't even have to put my phone number or address for them to send something back. And I can tell and share some of my deepest, darkest secrets, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to be able to share with someone who is completely anonymous.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that at the time until I started doing it, and part of journaling, the exercise of journaling is supposed to transform you into a process of starting to share with others, right? You start writing it down for yourself. And then, after writing, hopefully you start sharing with somebody else, like whatever, whoever, your sponsor, your therapist.
Yeah,
whoever.
exactly. So it's a great
But I write some stuff in the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Tiff contacts us, right? Then we blow her off because of the pandemic. Then we get back to her. She thinks it's bullshit. She calls us, hangs up on us. And then she comes out in the meetings because it's real. And next thing you know, she's writing stuff to pen friends. She's going to every meeting. The next thing you know is that some of our people that was doing the meetings for a while, they ended up, wanting a break. And whose hand went up first? Tifani. I'm going to take Sunday nights and I'm going to do Sunday nights. And Tiff, you've been doing Sunday nights for how long now? It has to be
A
almost
long
a
time.
year.
I think it's been
Yeah.
well, it's been over a year. I think
Yeah.
it's been over a year.
Yeah.
And Sunday nights are awesome. I started it out. I didn't know it was the first time I'd ever led a meeting, like I don't know, like I'm still a newcomer, like, okay, whatever, sign me up. Okay. So you taught me how to do it. And then I started hosting meetings and just doing it like I had noticed and seen other meetings. And then I kind of started feeling a need for a real traditional like AA meeting. And so I decided to do a big book study, an in-depth, detailed big book study, which we started, it must be 6 or 8 weeks ago now. And it has grown and people keep showing up and like it's Sunday night and there's like tons of people coming on. And I was like, all right. And it's great because we get to share like a sponsor would to a sponsee. And we go through the detailed line by line big book study, just as you would. And would with a sponsor, and it's been great. It's been great. I love it.
Well, I like how, and guys, you have to come to these meetings. If you want to see where these meetings are, go to genesishouse.net under connections and you'll see everything under there. All you got to do is just click on the 7 p.m. or the 12 noon, and it'll give you your time zones in there too. I believe it changes in time zones. And just come on to some of these meetings. If you want to go on Tifani's Sunday night meeting, all you got to do is click on it Sunday night at 7 or 6 or wherever you're at, and just go and listen to these meetings. Because you know what, the great thing about this is that people start personalizing these meetings and understanding, like listening to the group, listening to who's there, listening to the audience, basically. And that's what everybody wanted a big book study, and Tifani's, Tifani just gave it to them. And that meeting's packed. I think there's standing room only. What do you get, about 300, 400 people in that meeting?
400 or 500 people. Like
400 or 500 at least. Yeah.
There's a waiting room enabled. We have to do breakout rooms.
Breakout rooms, yeah.
So and I bet it is the holidays, Ed. I'm willing to throw out there that anybody who comments below, on the podcast about our meetings specifically and asks for the link, I bet we could send them a free gift.
Yes, absolutely. I was coughing there.
I might have just volunteered you.
Well, the first 3 people that comment below here, either on YouTube or whatever, we'll get a hold of you and we'll send you something out. We'll definitely. Matter of fact, the package just got delivered to my door, so I'll send that out. That's 10 times a day. No, just kidding. Anyways.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but no, seriously, come on, get on the meeting. I do this thing called Screenlist Sundays. And I think I've been on Tiff's meeting once or twice, and it's a great meeting. I should get on it more. Sunday nights, or Sunday's kind of my day to kind of relax. But you know what? Recovery is about change, guys. And I don't have to stay stuck that way. And whatever, you don't have to keep going to a meeting that you may or may not like. Come over and listen to Tiff's meeting, or go on any of these meetings. You got 14 meetings a week. And that's not the specialty meetings. We got the alumni and friends. If you're listening, an alumni, we got first responders on Thursday nights. We got medical professionals on Friday nights. What else do we have?
Meditation, family.
Meditation. We got family, loved ones. I mean, there's so many meetings. This community has grown. I mean, just saying it now, I'm like, holy shit, man. We took this from a podcast, guys, from a podcast to, I mean, Tiff's a good friend of ours now. She came, we hung out with her. She's, it's just amazing what recovery brings us. It's amazing that if you stay sober and do what you're supposed to do, the miracles that walk into your life, and it's just amazing. And Tiff, you're definitely one of those miracles. I mean, we've seen you grow in the last 3 years that you've been with us, or 2 years that you've been with us. We've seen you grow, and you're teaching people stuff. You know, you're
My
teaching
life
people
has changed
stuff.
so much since I joined Friends in Recovery. I mean, like,
Mhm,
and I'm not saying it's just because Friends in Recovery. I'm just saying since that time period or
mhm,
in that time frame, I cannot believe the promises that have come true,
mhm,
the things that have come into my life,
mhm,
and it's all because of recovery. It's all because of
yes.
recovery, you know. And
Yeah.
I just heard someone on the alumni meeting. She made a quote the other night that said, "If I wouldn't have found my addiction, I wouldn't have found my recovery, and I wouldn't have found myself." And
Mm,
that's really how I feel right now.
yeah.
I didn't know who I was for 43 years, you know.
Mm.
So,
We'll
um,
talk about that a little bit, who you were, like this Tiffany we know now and this Tiffany we see now. She's this helping, loving, caring, screaming at kids type person. But who were you? What brought you up to where you're at today? Because, you know, that's the important part of our story. You know, where we've
yeah.
been, we can't shut the door on that.
Well, you know, I didn't come in here on a winning streak. That's for sure. And, you know, I'm not trying to break any records with my drinking story or drugging story or anything, but I was heavily addicted to fentanyl and other opiates. I was a 24/7 drinker, and I started drinking and using drugs when I was 11 years old. And my life was a shit show and completely in shambles when I
Mm,
came in. And, you know, between Chris and I, we have 7 kids, and I had lost
Lord.
2 businesses. My life was in the shitter, just like
Mhm.
everybody else. And
Yeah.
I am the most hopeless variety of an addict and alcoholic. And I
Mhm.
was extremely physically addicted at the time. And I got tired of detoxing every 2 days on the bathroom floor, and you know, and saying I wasn't going to do it again. And you know, I to be honest with you, the last year of my life, I spent every single day I researched the easiest way to commit suicide.
Mm.
And that's where
Mm.
I was at. Because I
Wow.
just couldn't stop, and I didn't know how to ask for help, and I had nothing. I was completely broken,
Yeah.
and lifeless. And I mean, didn't get off the couch, didn't get out of bed. I was
Mhm.
doing all those same things that, you know, everybody else was doing.
Yeah. You,
Um, and I was
well, you
also
said
heavily
hopeless,
addicted.
Tiff.
Yeah.
You said hopeless. What do you mean by hopeless? Give us some, you know, kind of what was the hopeless feeling? You had kids, you had this, you had that, like you have a beautiful house, I'm sure, and all that. Why hopeless? What was the hopelessness?
Because I wasn't participating in life.
Mhm.
It was no longer from a point of I just don't want to live anymore. It was I want to die.
Mm, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I was completely empty spiritually,
Mm,
physically, mentally. I just was gone.
mhm,
It was gone.
mhm,
I was unrecognizable compared to what I am today.
mhm,
And I didn't know that there was a way out.
mm,
I just didn't know there was a way out. I didn't see any other way out. And so I was going to die.
mhm,
And on the day that I was going to commit suicide, I decided to say goodbye to Chris one last time. He happened to be driving near our home while he was out at work. And he said he was nearby, and he stopped in. And for a split second, I had a moment of clarity. Just a very minute second. And he didn't know I was going to commit suicide, but I just was,
mm,
you know. And I said, I need help. That's were my words.
mm.
I need help. And he was like, okay, like here he was like, yay. And then like later, as I'm like so sick, you know, and finally had to just a second to just hang on in the shakes, you know. He was like, he called me back and he was like, this is the greatest day of my life. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Right. I'm sick, you know, I'm detoxing here.
Yeah.
And he was like, I called my mom and I told her that you asked for help. And I was like,
Mm,
oh my gosh. Like at that moment, I realized how much and how deeply I'd impacted other people, just a
mm,
lot of things, but I was completely hopeless. And the reason I grew so fast, um, within the Alcoholics Anonymous program and Narcotics Anonymous program is because I was so hopeless, and
mm,
I worked these steps like my life depended on it,
mhm.
because it did.
Well, there was no other way but up at that point. Like, I mean,
Right.
you were just ready to do it all in, and there's no other way up. I mean, how
Yeah.
further down can you go than that, right? I mean, you know,
I had
that's it.
lost everything. We were actually living in an apartment because we were on the verge of losing everything. I'd lost 2 businesses. I had, like I financially could not keep up with any of my habits anymore, just to remain feeling normal for just like a small
Yeah.
few hours
Yeah.
of the day.
If that's even what we call it, right? Like a barely
Yeah.
even feeling
Like,
normal.
right? It just,
Yeah.
that feeling where you
Yeah.
just like, if I could just
Yeah.
breathe for a second.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Exactly.
afford to just breathe for a second anymore. So I was just going to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the work started kicking in, putting down the drink and the drug
Yeah.
was the easy part. That little did we know. And I don't mean that to discourage people, but if you want this, you got to keep working for it daily. And it's
Yeah.
not labor intensive. You're not out there breaking rocks in the hot sun. You just got to put in the work, the mental and the physical, not the physical, but the mental work, the spiritual work, the emotional work. That, you know what? Early recovery, I think I'd rather be banging rocks in a hot sun than going through some of that stuff that I went through in
Right.
early recovery.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Early recovery is totally different. You have all these different phases. And, I had went to detox a year prior to this date that I told you about committing
Mhm.
suicide. So I had this like small glimpse of hope that I could stay sober because I left detox and stayed sober for like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
But I had that small, and I had that little piece of me in my heart, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
And so when I asked for help again, and we still had the connection to like Fairview and the addiction doctor that I had been working with. And when I had a support system, Chris, he got on the phone right away, called those numbers. He was getting calls back and, had me back in detox. And I got into a 30-day program within about 5.5 days I was there. And I did put in 30 days in residential, and then went to an IOP program. I needed a dual diagnosis for mental health
Mhm.
and addiction, which was the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Mm.
And after that, I went into an IOP and I stayed there. It didn't have an end date. It wasn't one of those 30, 60, 90,
Yeah.
6 months. I stayed there for a year and a half
Wow. Oh my
because
God.
I needed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I needed to. And I wasn't I was feeling great during that whole time. I
Yeah.
was like I am today. I started Friends in Recovery while I was still in that IOP.
Oh yeah.
So
You
that
did.
was
Yes,
still me.
absolutely.
It's just that I loved the connections, and it was COVID, right? So nobody
Mhm.
was meeting in person. It was all Zoom, but I loved the
Mm.
connections we made. I
Mhm.
loved the support I was getting for my mental health.
Mhm.
And the structure that they had there. And I love that they were coaching and teaching me how to do the things I do today.
Mm.
Like how to live in the world today. Like you get up and take a shower and you go to appointments
Yeah.
and you show up
Be
and you be there on
responsible.
time. And it's interesting how quickly those things happen. But I'll tell you, every single day in recovery, even in the beginning, is way better than when I was using on those in that last
Mm.
period of time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It is not hard work compared to that.
Yeah. Yep. I want to talk to you about support. We were talking about the loved one support meeting. Stacy runs the loved one support meeting on Monday nights, at 8 o'clock on Eastern time. But a lot of us have it. A lot of us burn our bridges. And so you mentioned about Chris is your fiance, and
Yeah.
you mentioned that when you went to him, you said that you need help. Tell me how much support he gave you, or how little support he gave you, or was he behind you, or was he done with you? Because there's some people out there now burnt every bridge. The families aren't happy with them. But the minute my understanding is, the minute I got to recovery and I started showing some responsibilities or putting some time in, that support started coming back. But it seems like you had Chris right from the beginning,
So
helping you support.
I did have him from the beginning, but he was ready to leave. He was
Oh,
packing
okay.
the kids up and he
Okay.
was going.
Wow.
Now he may
Okay.
not have been leaving me, but he was physically leaving me with the kids. He was
Okay.
he was done. I had burnt
Okay.
that bridge, right?
Okay.
But he I was gonna be alone. That was it. And I knew that he was going. And so it wasn't, but it was to a point where that's why I was going to commit suicide, because I knew he was going to leave also. But not that it was
Okay.
his fault, but I knew that was the end of the end.
Yeah.
And but he supported me from the beginning. He was, like I said, he said it was the greatest day in the world when I told him I couldn't do this anymore. And said I need help. And he started doing the work, but he's realized now how much work that was. And I will say, in the beginning, you mentioned the loved ones meeting just a moment ago. I always said AA and NA were never going to be a part of my life. Well, they're a huge part of my life now. And he always said, Al-Anon and support groups are never going to be a part of my life either, right? Wow. Guess who's a part of the loved ones group, like the loved ones meeting, like and now he wants to start support groups just like the loved ones group, right? For families that need help, and he's mentioned it so much. And Chris is an entrepreneur, man. He starts lots of businesses and they've all been successful. And I know when he says something, I know that people are going to get help now, and that feels good. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that loved one support has been great. My mom died of addiction. My dad is still in active use. I mean, she had cancer also, but she was an addict, and an addict who got cancer and was in an active addiction when she died. And so I come from a long line of AKC registered alcoholics and addicts, is what I say. We could have our own dog and pony show. So the support system wasn't there from my family. I had burned all the bridges too with my brother. I was very close with my brother. He's my only sibling. I had burnt that bridge long ago. I had no friends left. I mean, like, I had my real friends left, but very few. I had burnt all the people. So basically I had Chris and Chris's mom.
Wow.
And and Chris's mom was in it for Chris, I'm not sure that she was in it for me. But he says that the family program that he attended while I was in residential was what opened his eyes to a whole lot of things, whole different world. Meaning not just about me, the addict, it's me, right? Especially during that phase, about him and what he needed and how I destroyed him. I absolutely was destroying him. I was killing him too. Because
we ripped the families apart when
and if I wasn't, he was, trust me, man, he's qualified to be here when he says that in meetings, like he was bellying up right with me when he was sick of, trying to get me to stop. He'd be doing the same thing I was.
Can't beat him, join him type thing. He might have been
right. And then he'd stop, because he can stop. He's a normie.
He's one of those. He's not one of us.
Right.
So we went through all that. The support was there. We know where your addiction was. The support was there. What's it like today? I mean, we know what it's like today for you because we talk to you almost on a daily basis. But tell the listeners, like, what is it like today? Like, what changed? What was that? What's different in your life? Like, and would you ever give it back for $1 million? If I dropped $1 million on the table today and said, okay, Tiff, go back to your life. Here's $1 million and go on. And I know the answer to that, but I just want to know what's different today and why wouldn't you take that $1 million? I know that answer. I know it's for sure.
So what's different today is, first of all, I still wake up every single morning an addict. And so I got one day at a time, just like everybody else. I literally live my life one day at a time. There are some things that I can be concerned about and think about with the future, and think about them on a limited basis, as an adult now that I'm, like functioning in the world, there's a few things I got to do. But, I wake up every morning. I thank God that I'm sober. That's the first thing I do every single day. And for another daily reprieve. But what's different today is that there's laughter in our house. It's my adult children are back in my life, and I have relationships with them. Like, they want to be around me. My whole family wants to be around me again. They want to come to our house for the holidays. They want to, participate in events and participate in our life on a daily basis. And I get up and show up, and I do that with very little effort. I never thought that would happen in my life, right? Like, I thought I would have anxiety, and normal people canceled appointments 3 times in a row and, showed up 15 to 20 minutes late. Like, when you get there and, drenched in sweat and all those things, right? I don't. Like, I actually want to get out and go to the world, and like, hey, I'm going to get in my car and drive, and I'm going to go on vacation. And,
you're gonna come see Jersey Ed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I'm a good partner again. Like, my support to Chris is amazing, right? Not only do I get to be a mom, and I'm not irritated and annoyed in that way of like, hey, I'm hungover, or need to get it on. I'm actually like happy with the kids and enjoying their life, the little ones, the big ones, the middle ones. And then as far as my partnership with Chris, like, his businesses have just gone, it's COVID, man. And his businesses have skyrocketed. And it's because, of the partner I'm able to be now. Like, I can be a partner and have conversations and be reliable and show love and support, and I feel love, and I love myself. I was never able to say that. And now I still struggle, man. Like, I struggle with asking for help. There are days where, like, I'm like, me, I think I'm going to check out for a few hours here, like
well, what's your famous saying?
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. We're getting shirts like that, guys. We're getting shirts. Don't be a dick. Okay.
That's what we're doing. Clothes that say "Don't be a dick," because I pause for a moment instead of like reacting. I have humility. I have people don't need to hear me talk all the time. I don't need to answer everything. I don't need to hide in a closet or a bedroom for 4 days in a row. Right. My life today, and then I have this higher power who I've learned is like loving and like, wow, like, what's this all about? Like, everything is great. Not everything is rainbows and unicorns. I mean,
no, of course not. Yeah.
Man, I have to deal with some tough shit in life, but I'm okay. I can survive, and I don't have to.
What's a bad day of life is better than a good day of drinking, I'm guessing.
Oh man, that's right, right? But I have to do an honest daily inventory with myself and really check in with myself, so that I know what I need to change for the day ahead, and when I do that, I continue to live this life that I just talked about. And I wouldn't give it back for $1 million, Ed. No way.
I know you would.
Take your million and shove it up your ass.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm going to be a dick. Like,
that's
shove
funny.
It.
Exactly.
Because, I love my life, and I'm not asking for anything. Things are just happening and showing up.
Well, that's what we're coming about. Yeah, when we don't ask for things, it's what does my sponsor always say in the meetings? Is we get what we need, not what we want. If we got what we want, we'd cut ourselves short, guys.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
We wouldn't have the list we would have today. And I'm not talking money or stuff or this or that. I'm talking about just what we have personally and spiritually and everything inside of us, the happiness and the joy, because that would not be in my list. You know what I mean? If I was way back when putting my wants on a list, it would be $1 million, a fast car, just some hot young 28-year-old, it would be all fucking superficial shit in early recovery or in fucking, what I was using. But God gives us what we need, not what we want.
Yes. All my needs are met. My needs are met. And I do have wants, but they're realistic.
Yes.
And they're not all about me. You know, they're
Yes.
just not. And I've always been like a caregiver and very caring person,
Mhm.
always. But I did that to hide myself, and I did it because I
Mm.
hated myself.
Yes. Yeah.
I was doing it all for the wrong reasons. And
Yeah.
so today that I actually know what happiness feels like, and what joy feels like, and I am able to feel those feelings and express my emotions appropriately, is great. But I've had
Mhm.
excellent communication with my partner, number one, and I'm completely transparent,
Mhm.
100% transparent. And
Mhm.
sometimes that scares him,
Mhm.
because, like some things I would say to you and you guys won't be scared at all. You're just like, yeah, whatever, what the fuck, you're an addict.
Yeah.
Like there's some
That's
things
so
I say to
true.
him,
Yeah.
like, and he's like, whoa, right? Like, and I'm like, I'm not really gonna buy those $10,000 pots and pans, like, but I
Well,
want
and
them. No.
and Skylar, I know you can identify with about 99% of what Tiffany's talking about, because you
Mhm.
guys are, you know, you guys are just from different parts of the country. That's all you really are. I mean, I
Right.
see so much similar. Well, Tiff has shorter hair, you have longer hair. So, but what's your thoughts on some of this, Sky? And I know you can identify with a lot of what Tiff is talking about today.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, because I remember one of the first few meetings you came on too, and I remember even the first alumni meetings you shared for me on, and I bet you now if you shared your story would be like 100% different, right?
Mhm.
Like think about it, like because I think about I shared for the clients like last night, and I think about my story then versus when I first we're
Mhm.
always evolving, and if we're not, there's there, sometimes that's not a good thing,
You got
at
to do
least
some
in
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
recovery. And
Yeah.
I'm
On
being
that
modest.
meeting, Sky, was the first time that I had shared that what I had done while I was pregnant,
Oh, wow.
the
I
things that
remember
I
that
had
meeting.
done while I
Yeah.
was pregnant
Yeah.
and while my mom was dying. And I
Mhm.
think of how different that would be. But that was such a healing moment for me. And that happened
Yeah.
on that meeting. And I'll never forget it. I'll never
Right.
forget it. But anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
you go, girl. What were
Yeah,
you
no,
talking about?
that's so true. And I just think that it's in recovery, it's hard sometimes to sit with ourselves. Like it really is. And like we're three people that are constantly like move. And
Mm.
but like I think the community we have like really forces us to pause. Like, because you're still a person I can always call, and like she's like a cheerleader with me. I'm like, guess
Mhm.
what? It just happened. I got my first pen friend. Someone wrote me back. I had a client write me back, and I like called her. I'm like, I'm like screaming, freaking out. I got a card from, and like she's like screaming with me because she was just as excited because she believed in my vision. She believed in the she wanted to really see it go for the forward. So
Mhm.
but and I think because of our community, we like have a really awesome opportunity to grow with each other. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we do in
Yeah.
in the rooms too. I just think that it's really personalized with us. I think we've gotten to know each other, and honestly,
Yeah.
through the pandemic, the Friends on Recovery meetings, they saved my behind too. Like to this
Yeah.
day, it's my
Yeah.
community because my mental health spiked bad
Mm.
when I was
Oh,
during
yeah.
the pandemic. Like
Oh, yeah.
suicidal ideation just started all over again, and I had
Yeah.
12 years at the time in recovery. It didn't matter,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was just a hard time. And I think that the community was such a blessing for me as well. Like
Mm.
it's just been
Yeah.
an amazing journey, and like to have you two
Yeah.
in the journey, I don't know what I would do without you guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, and
Seriously.
it's nice having you guys on too, because you have long-term sobriety, right? And so not only do you give us hope, but I love when Skylar gets on a meeting and says, okay, guys, I'm going to get spiritually naked in here. Her phrase is spiritually naked. And
Yeah.
and I love
Yep.
it though, because it puts things into perspective that, there real life is out there, right? These
Mhm.
challenges are still going to be ahead, but she's showing us how to use the tools
Mhm.
so that we can
Mhm.
remain sober, for long term, and how to use the tools in long-term sobriety.
Yeah.
And we get that from Skylar and from you, Ed. And it's not just words of wisdom, like we're sitting back here being, long-term sobriety, you guys
Yeah.
give us so much more than that, because you do get spiritually naked and are vulnerable.
Mhm.
Like you
Yeah.
said, Ed, when you're sick, hey, I don't do well when I'm sick, man.
Mm.
I'm
No.
really vulnerable when I'm sick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
real vulnerable
Yes.
in a lot
Mhm.
of ways.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how long we've been sober, that just happens.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
to be able to share that is amazing
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
with you
And you know,
guys.
we learn from, and we're gonna kind of cut it down here because we probably could do 10 more shows, and we can probably keep talking for the next 10 hours. So we'll maybe we'll bring Tiff back, and we'll go on for another little tangent here. But you know, we learned a lot from well, first of all, from the pandemic. All of us did. Number one, we learned a lot from each other, because don't forget, guys, we didn't come on the meeting. First of all, we didn't have to drive to a meeting, you know, 20 minutes from our house, get to the meeting at 7 o'clock at night, drink a cup of coffee, knowing you're gonna be shaking until 12 o'clock because you're jittered out. And then you want to get out at 8 o'clock because you want to go back home because you're 8 o'clock. I've been up since 5 working, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, the pandemic really let us get on Zoom, get on early, learn who you are, learn who each one of us are. I'm not just talking about Tiffany, everybody in the
Mhm.
community. Stay late. How many times did Cudahy, you, Skylar, you know, Kathy, Camden, Kathy, they all stay late after the meeting, 45 minutes, an hour after the meeting,
Yeah.
just
I know.
learning about each other. That's the real recovery. I mean, obviously the meeting helps too, but that's when we get to know each other and really understand each
Yeah.
other and grow with each other. We grew
Yes.
together. And I don't care if you have 2 years and I have 27 years, guy, you have 14, whatever it is. We grew together. We grew
Mhm.
together in this pandemic, and we're stronger, I believe, than before the pandemic, or even if this pandemic ever happened. I don't believe my recovery would be as strong as it is today.
No,
I'll be
I
honest with
really
you.
think I'm so blessed to that. My life has been so blessed from the pandemic.
Yeah.
It really has. Now, a
Yep.
lot
Yeah.
of bad things have happened.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there's some a lot of serious things that have happened, but my life has catapulted. And
Mm,
a lot of the reasons, like Zoom and the things that have happened specifically because of the pandemic,
Yes.
have been very beneficial in my life.
yeah.
And
Yep.
it probably saved my life.
Absolutely, absolutely. So on that note, we're going to cut it there. And Tiff, maybe you would like to come back and talk a little bit more. Maybe we get you on next week, or if you're available,
Have a part
whatever,
two.
we'll talk about it and get you on. We'll have a part 2. Yeah. Tiff part 2, Tiff part 1, Tiff part 2. So, but a couple things before we go. Of course, guys, we gotta give us Sober Pod a nod and say hello to Carl, Ellen, Steve, and Chelsea out there. They are, you know what? Friends in Recovery is great, and they're just like a notch below us. They're great too, but we're just one above them. So, no, but we love them all.
Don't be a dickhead. Don't be a dick.
Oh, I'm sure Carl's gonna be a bigger dick after he hears this. I am 100% positive, but no, guys, listen to Sober Pod. Sober Pod is great. They do an amazing job over there. Topics and you name it. You know, just go back a year or 2 years ago and listen. They did the steps from January, every show once a week. They worked step 1, kind of went through February, step 2, so on and so forth for a whole year. It was boggled my mind that they did this. I can't talk 5 minutes about step 1, let alone a fucking month about it, you know?
And they did it from all points of view.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes,
All religious points
exactly.
of view. So
Yep,
like
absolutely.
religious, not religious, somewhat religious.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So so go turn your dial over there to the left, and we're to the right, they're to the left. Well, some of us are anyways.
Whoa!
Oh, a little
There it
political
is.
there. Here we go. Anyways, no, we love them over there. Just go listen to them. And if you want to send anything out to us, help at friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. That's help at friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. And let us know if you want Tiffany back on the show next week. Oh, and by the way, guys, it's Christmas week. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Whatever holiday you're celebrating, we want to make sure that, you know, we get that out to everybody. So, you know, it's Christmas
Have a
week, so be
plan.
safe. Have
Ask
a
for-
plan. Yes.
Ask for help.
Yes. Maybe the next show we can do a plan on New Year's, because the show will
Yeah,
be before New
definitely.
Year's, right?
We'll get some
Yeah, think
alcohol
about
instead
that.
of like figure
Yeah,
out where we're at,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. So, guys, well, Tiff, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you back on these shows a little bit more often. And that's it, guys. Stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.